The iron gates crashed shut behind me, the sound reverberating through my bones like a death knell. At 23, I was a stranger in a world that thrived on breaking souls. My name was Caleb Reed, but in this place, I was just inmate 73,912. My lean frame, honed from years of running track, felt like a liability among the towering figures around me. Their eyes gleamed with predatory curiosity, sizing me up as I clutched my bundle of coarse, state-issue clothes. The air was thick, with the stench of sweat, rust, and despair, a place where dreams came to die. "Move it! Fresh meat!" a guard barked, shoving me down a dimly lit corridor. Laughter echoed from the cells, a chorus of wolves sensing new prey. I kept my eyes on the cracked concrete floor, my heart hammering. I didn't belong here. A stupid mistake caught in the wrong car with the wrong people during a botched deal had landed me in this hell for 3 years. No one cared that I hadn't pulled the trigger. Guilt by association was enough. The guard stopped at cell 312. "In," he grunted, gesturing to the open door. I stepped inside, my throat tight. The cell was a coffin of gray walls, a rusted sink, and a toilet that looked like it hadn't been cleaned in years. Then I saw him, my cellmate. He lounged on the lower bunk, his massive frame barely contained by the thin mattress. His dark skin gleamed under the flickering light, tattoos snaking across his arms like stories of a violent past. His eyes, sharp and unyielding, locked onto mine. My stomach twisted. I didn't need to hear his name to know who he was. Everyone knew Darius Kane, the man who ruled Blackthorn Penitentiary like a king. He didn't move, didn't speak, just watched me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. I forced myself to hold his gaze, my jaw tight. "Show no fear," I told myself, though my knees felt like they might give out. Finally, he leaned forward, his voice a low rumble that filled the tiny space. "You're a long way from home, kid." I swallowed, my mouth dry as sand. "Guess I am," I managed, my voice steadier than I felt. Darius smirked, a slow, dangerous curve of his lips. "Name's Darius. And you are?" "Caleb," I said, gripping my bundle tighter. He tilted his head, studying me like I was a puzzle he hadn't decided to solve or break. "Caleb," he repeated, the word rolling off his tongue like a challenge. Then he leaned closer, his voice dropping to a whisper that sent a shiver down my spine. "You're mine now, Caleb." The words hit me like a punch. My heart pounded. A mix of fear and something I couldn't name. I was in deeper than I'd ever imagined, and Darius Kane had just drawn a line in the sand. The next day, trouble found me faster than I'd expected. The showers were a jungle of steam and shadows, the air thick with the smell of cheap soap and tension. I barely started rinsing off when 2 inmates cornered me, their grins sharp as knives. "Pretty boy like you shouldn't be alone," one sneered, his breath hot against my face. My pulse spiked, my body tensing for a fight I knew I couldn't win. Before I could react, the air shifted. The men froze, their eyes darting to something behind me. I turned, and there was Darius, filling the doorway like a storm cloud. His arms were crossed, his expression calm but deadly. The silence was suffocating. "He's with me," Darius said, his voice low and final. The men backed off, muttering apologies as they vanished into the steam. My chest heaved, relief warring, with the humiliation of needing to be saved. Darius stepped closer, his eyes scanning me for injuries. "You don't wander off alone, Caleb," he said, his tone leaving no room for argument. "Not here." I nodded, my throat too tight to speak. He lingered, his gaze unreadable, then turned and walked out. The weight of his protection settled over me like a chain heavy, inescapable, but somehow comforting. Back in our cell, I sat on my bunk, the thin mattress creaking under my weight. Darius was on his bunk below, his presence a constant pressure. I wanted to thank him, but the words felt wrong, like they give him more power over me. Instead, he broke the silence. "You're too soft for this place, kid." My jaw clenched. I can handle myself. He chuckled, a low rumbling sound. That why I had to step in today. Heat crept up my neck. I hated that he was right. Why'd you do it? I asked, my voice sharp. What's in it for you? He shifted, his eyes meeting mine in the dim light. Maybe I don't like seeing things get broken. His voice was softer now, almost thoughtful. Or maybe you're just interesting. The word hung between us, heavy with meaning I wasn't ready to unpack. My heart raced, and I looked away, afraid of what I might see in his eyes. Or what? He might see in mine. Days bled into weeks, each one a test of survival. The prison was a machine, grinding down anyone who didn't learn its rules fast. Darius taught me those rules, not with words but with actions. Stick close. Don't owe anyone anything. Never show weakness. His crew, a tight-knit group of men who answered to him without question, accepted my presence but watched me with wary eyes. I was an outsider, tolerated only because Darius had claimed me in the cafeteria. I sat at his table, the noise of clattering, trays and shouted conversations fading under the weight of his presence. One of his men, a wiry guy named Rico with a scar across his cheek, smirked at me. How's the new pet doing, Darius? I stiffened, my fork pausing midair. Darius didn't look up from his tray. He's fine, he said, his tone flat, but laced with warning. Rico's smirk faded and the table fell silent. No one challenged Darius. No one dared. Later, in the yard, I felt the stares again, hostile, curious, predatory. A group of inmates by the fence called out, their words dripping with mockery. Hey, Kane's boy, where's your leash? My fist clenched, but before I could respond, Darius was there, his shadow swallowing the sunlight. He didn't speak, just stared at the leader until the man backed down, muttering excuses. Darius turned to me, his voice low. Ignore them. They don't touch what's mine. The word mine sent a jolt through me, equal parts fear and something warmer, something I didn't want to name. I nodded, my heart pounding as he walked away, his presence lingering like a brand. The tension between us grew with every passing day. It was in the way Darius watched me when he thought I wasn't looking, his eyes tracing the lines of my face with an intensity that made my skin burn. It was in the way he stood close, his arm brushing mine in the crowded halls, a silent claim. No one dared challenge. And it was in the way my body responded, my pulse quickening at his touch, my dreams haunted by the weight of his gaze. One night in the laundry room, it all came to a head. I was alone, folding uniforms under the hum of fluorescent lights, when the same inmate from the yard appeared, his friends blocking the exit. No Kane to save you now, he sneered, grabbing my wrist. Panic surged, but before I could fight. Back, Darius was there. He moved like a force of nature, pinning the man to the wall with a hand around his throat. Touch him again, he said, his voice a low growl, and you'll wish you were dead. The man gasped, his eyes wide with fear, and his friends scattered. Darius released him, and they fled without a backward glance. I stood there, my breath ragged, my hand shaking. Darius turned to me, his eyes blazing. I told you not to go anywhere alone, he said, his voice rough with something I couldn't place anger, worry, maybe both. I didn't think I started, but he cut me off, stepping closer. His hand brushed my cheek, a fleeting touch that sent fire through my veins. You don't get to not think, Caleb. Not here. His eyes held mine, and for a moment the world narrowed to just us, the hum of the machines, the heat of his breath, the unspoken question hanging between. Psst. Then he stepped back, and the moment shattered. That night, in the darkness of our cell, I couldn't sleep. The air was thick with the weight of everything unsaid. Darius was on his bunk below, silent but awake. I could feel him, the steady rhythm of his breathing, a contrast to my racing heart. Why me? I whispered, the words slipping out before I could stop them. He didn't answer right away. Then softly, because you're worth protecting. The words broke something in me. Fear, anger, confusion, they all melted under the weight of his confession. I slid off my bunk, my bare feet hitting the cold floor. He sat up, his eyes finding mine in the dim light. Neither of us spoke. Neither of us needed to. I moved toward him, and he reached for me, his hand strong but gentle. When our bodies met, it wasn't about power or control. It was about trust, about finding something real in a place that thrived on breaking it. His touch was a promise, a shield against the darkness of Blackthorn. And for the first time since, the gate slammed shut, I wasn't afraid Dot in Darius' arms. I found safety. In his eyes, I saw something more, something neither of us was ready to name but couldn't deny. In this prison of shadows, we were each other's light.